Hello, YouTube. It's been, hasn't been too long. But this is going to be just a kind of like a small review over the recent marker I picked up. So I sold the G3. I wasn't really using it, kind of about with the other videos. So I used that money and put towards a little bit of more money to pick up this recent pickup. It is an older gun from like 2007, 2008-ish, around that time. I haven't owned this brand before, so this was actually kind of exciting. But we'll go ahead and get in a picture here. Yeah, a Bob Long Vice. So yeah, I came across this one on just eBay for a pretty fair price. Didn't really get into a bidding war, so picked up for about 150 bucks. So I think that's a win for me. For the most part, it shoots flawless. No problems with that at all. The cosmetics, I would give it like a 7 out of 10. There's some nicks on it and stuff like that, but it's a real pretty chrome silver. But there is a few scratches and stuff on it. It's kind of hard to tell in the video, but it's there. But overall, it's a solid shooter so far, and it's really pretty looking too. I like it. It kind of goes with, if you notice, I kind of like silver guns. I also have like a silver car. I just feel like it's easier to keep it clean, and I don't know, I just like silver, the look, black and silver. Same way with the Impulse, which I still own. But yeah, so I picked it off of eBay. But a little bit about the Vice. It's a poppet-driven gun, so we're keeping that theme going where I'm getting poppet bows. Maybe in the comments below, I should get a spool valve gun. Which spool valve gun you guys would like for me to get? And don't say the CS2, because I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a paintball gun. We keep it like a little bit older around this time frame with spool valve guns. But yeah, it's a poppet-driven gun. And back in the day, it was kind of a high end. This was the direct competitor with the 09 Eagle, I believe. So these two were top dogs. This was a flagship marker of Bob Long back in the day at 07. These are really known for really good efficiency. And I'll get into that here in a little bit about it. But just a little bit about it. It was like, again, a direct competitor with the 09 Eagle at the time. You could get these for, I think, like 700 bucks back in the day. I remember I just started, this is when I first started paintball. When these came out, I started around 07-ish, 08, around that time, and I remember these coming out. They were like 700 when the Eagle was like close to 1,000. And I mean, this is a great shooting marker for the day, and it's still a great shooter marker for the day. It just doesn't have the bells and whistles of the Eagle. You know, like the Eagle had the OLED screen, or not the OLED screen, just the screen back there. That might have been an OLED. It wasn't an OLED. It just had the screen back there where the Bob Long Vice didn't. It just has an LED light, like an LED board. But with that being said, it still had pretty much the same firing modes. Didn't come with the on-off ASA. It just came with a direct mount, inline direct mount. But it's still like, you just didn't get the bells and whistles of the Eagle. But this marker definitely was like top dog with the Eagle. It was. I believe it had a softer shot than the Eagle, and it was definitely a little bit more efficient than the Eagle. It can keep up with the Eagle when it comes with BPS. So back in like 07 and stuff, it was still kind of a BPS war with, not quite, but it still was like a BPS war with like high rates of fire. It was still when this came out, MPPL was big, and I think the cap for MPPL was like 25 balls per second, if I'm not mistaken, if not uncapped. Like I said, I was just kind of getting to the paintball scene, but I know it was high rates of fire before going to, like, before the MPPL fell, and then PSP was going to like 12 balls per second, which was still plenty fast. Back then, I think it was 15 and a half balls per second, which this marker can easily do that, if not, well, I know it can exceed that. So, and I'll go into that. But yeah, that's pretty much just a little history on the Bob Long Vice. It's got some awesome milling there, like a window right through there, you can see through it. Some other milling. It's in my opinion, it's a real pretty marker. And the Vice is the G6R is pretty much foundation-wise a Vice. The Vice and the G6R share a lot of parts, and they're extremely similar in their operation. If not, the shot quality is pretty much the same. The only big differences between the G6R, I'm pretty sure it has a different reg. Of course it does, because the G6R is macro lineless. It doesn't have a macro line where the Vice here does. But the G6R is very similar in shot, and I'm a huge fan of the G6R. I've never owned one, but the team that I used to scrimmage with back in like 2014, they used to all have G6Rs, and when I had a chance to shoot one, I loved it, but I couldn't afford it at the time. At that time I was using older Egos and E-Techs. E-Tech 4 I had at the time. So, but now that I'm older and I have a decent job, I can afford to buy the higher end guns that I couldn't afford when I was younger. So that's just how I like to be with paintball. I like to buy the older high end guns that I couldn't afford at a budget price. But yeah, so just some upgrades that are done to this gun, because there is quite a few upgrades that you can do to these guns. And back in the day, that was very common to upgrade your guns. Nowadays, you really don't see it too much, other than like a trigger and a barrel. But back in the day, we're talking boards, ASAs, triggers, eyes, bolts. You see bolts here and there around this time of age with newer guns, but it was very common back in the day to put some upgrades on your gun. But yeah, just a little bit about this one. So this one does have a few upgrades done to it. We're going to start out with, we'll start out from the top. So this one does have the 4C eyes rather than the 2C eyes. And what 4C eyes are, there's essentially 4 eyes on this marker. 2 on this side, and then of course 2 on the other side. And what that does is really beneficial for semi-auto play. And what it does is the ball comes down and it goes past the first eye, and then what that first eye does is pre-charges the solenoid for when that paintball gets to the second eye, it fires. So that first eye pre-charges the solenoid, and then when it gets to that second eye, it shoots it. So that first eye just pre-charges the solenoid, so it'll be ready to shoot for that second eye. And what that allows you to do is to have a little bit more of a quicker gun for semi. You're able to really keep up with that high rates of fire. I'm sure it's beneficial for like ramping and PSP or NXL for these modern times. But the 4 eyes, from what I've seen with the marker so far, has been more beneficial for uncapped semi. It allows the solenoid to be ready for that ball to drop in a breech. That's all it is. It pre-charges the solenoid. So it does have that done to it. It also has the low pressure poppet in it. What that allows you to do is have pretty much a softer and quieter shot compared to the stock one. So it also allows you to drop your LPR, which that's what makes the shot quality a little bit softer and quieter. Gives you a little bit of a smoother shot. It does come at a cost, a small cost. You're not going to be as efficient as you would be with the stock poppet, but it's not a whole lot less than the stock poppet, but it is a little bit. The stock poppet, about that, you could probably shoot a case, if not more, with this gun. This gun's extremely efficient. You could easily probably shoot a case with this gun with the stock poppet. With the low pressure poppet that I have in here, I'm really not sure how much, but I have not had to fill up my tank. I put probably about 6 cases through this gun so far this summer. I play at least once every weekend, so most of the time I play twice a week. Yeah, I would go out there and get a 4,000 fill, and I really wouldn't have to fill up again. Maybe I'd have to fill up one more time. Usually I shoot about a case, so it might be able to shoot a case with a low pressure poppet, but I know with the stock one you can shoot a case, if not more. So it's extremely efficient. And I can get into what my LPR setting is at if you guys want me to, and I can show you how to do that. I do have a pressure tester that screws into the back of the gun and allows me to set my LPR. So it does, again, it does have the low pressure popping in this. Moving back to the RAM, it does have the 0 ping RAM, and that also helps the shot be a little bit softer and less vibration. It has an O-ring on back of it. The stock one, you kind of get a ping sound when it hits the back cap. It kind of vibrates the gun, but I have that RAM in it right now that has an O-ring, so it lessens the vibration when you're shooting it, especially with high rates of fire. So it gives it a little bit of a softer shot and less vibration in the gun. Moving right along, board wise, so this one, I don't have batteries in it because I'm a hot dog. But this one has a Virtue board in it, which is awesome. It's got like 7 different firing modes in it, and it allows you to kind of, the stock one was a Tadao board, and I don't know too much about the stock board, but this one has a Virtue board. So the good thing about that, it allows you to be tournament legal. Not that I wouldn't play tournaments with it, but I really don't play tournaments. I'm kind of just a weekend warrior. I don't play tournaments. I do sometimes like play on the airball field for sure. I definitely play that, so that I will be able to play airball with this at the 10.5 balls per second. So this can definitely be programmed to shoot 10.5. And also can be programmed to shoot over 20, which I can do a shooting video if you guys would like about that. It definitely can shoot over 20. But it does have a Virtue board. It's got like different firing modes on it. It's super programmable. You really don't see that anymore. Actually, Virtue doesn't make boards anymore because guns these days just really don't require it. Back in the day, people wanted high rates of fire and all these different firing modes, but these days the demand for aftermarket boards for newer guns is non-existent. But it was existent and very popular back in the day. And then finally, this is the modification I did to the gun. All the other mods to this gun were done before I purchased it. But the modification I done to this, I purchased this gun with a CP on-off ASA, but I don't like things sticking out the side. I like that really slim profile look. And it was like a 90 fitting that stuck out like probably like half an inch. And I'm left-hand dominant when I shoot. So it was coming out the left side and really just rubbing my wrist, and I wasn't a fan. So the modification I did is I put a Dye Ultralight ASA on it, on-off ASA, inline. And I love it. It looks great. Makes the gun look really sleek, and it matches the gun very well. I did want a Empire on-off ASA, the one similar to my JT Impulse. I like that one a lot. But they didn't have any more in ANS gear, and I really didn't want to buy the whole kit for it, for the Enemy, GOG Enemy, that upgrade kit for it where you buy the hose and stuff. I didn't want that. I just wanted the ASA, but I can't find it. So this was a good second choice. And it looks really good. And this has been pretty good. I haven't had problems turning it on and off. I can see if you got paint on there, it'd be kind of difficult, but I've had pretty much 0 issues with that. So, yeah, this upgrade's done to it. Of course, I purchased the gun with the stock assassin barrel. I just put in my Deadly Winds freak insert barrel because why not? Let's get into the bolts real quick. The bolt, which is pretty cool about this, comes with a pillow bolt. So you can see that little cushion in the middle there. So it allows you to like shoot some really brittle paint. I haven't had any issues with it. The shot quality, I will say, since I've tuned it, is very similar to my JT Impulse. I would say it's right there with my JT Impulse. And you guys know I think highly of my JT Impulse. This shot quality is really good. Sound signature is a little bit different, but how it feels in the hand when you shoot it, like with vibration and the shot feel, it's very similar to my JT Impulse. The gun is not stretched out as long as my Impulse, but still a very comfortable gun. I'm gonna line this up now. Bear with me here. There it goes. But yeah, so the shot quality feels very good with this. Again, very efficient. So let's see what else here. Trigger, it's not a bearing trigger, but the trigger is pretty decent on it. No complaints there. It's not as adjustable as my JT Impulse, but it does the job. A lot of people get the Violent Series trigger. I don't see the need. Playing with it so far, I haven't had any issues. Feels pretty decent in the hand. So, moving right along to probably somebody might ask this question. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Do I run low pressure through my Bob-Long vise? And to answer the question, yes. And to further answer the question, do I use that low pressure tank on my other guns? And to answer the question, yes. And I haven't ran into any issues. The only one I had an issue with was my shoebox shocker, but I have another tank that I will just use for that. But other than that, the JT Impulse did fine with the low pressure one, no problems there. And I was shooting uncapped with my JT Impulse with the low pressure tank last week. Uncapped semi, zero issues with that. Zero issues with the E-Tech 4. So I have a Ninja reg, the Ninja Pro 2 V2 reg, the Pro one. And all I did was just remove all the red shims, if you're asking. And that got it down to 450, maybe 500 PSI, and I've had zero issues running it with all my other guns, including this one. I had high pressure air. I used high pressure air for a hot second with the gun. They say you can do that. I didn't have any issues with it, but the manual says you can do that, but I highly recommend that you run low pressure. So I'm gonna do whatever the manual says with this gun. And then with lubrication, I do use Dow 55 grease, and you can get that really cheap on eBay or Amazon. So I run Dow 55 on this, and I used it on all the internals with it too. With the bolt, I just use my Planet Eclipse gun oil, zero issues there. They say you can use Triflow too. They said you can use the regular gun oil also. I just use gun oil, zero issues there. It's good. With the detents, you got the, just real quick, the Delrin spring tension ones. So, but yeah, the only issue I've ran into with this gun is my LPR was kind of moving on me when I was shooting it. So I'd set my LPR, and then after a day's play, it would move either up or down. So all I did was put blue, not red, blue Loctite on it to keep it from moving, and it's fixed the issue since. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the gun. I'm really pleased with it. And the other good thing about this gun is parts are very available for it. So finding parts for these guns is very easy. It's not that difficult. So, and it shares a lot of parts with the G6R. So I'm really pleased with the gun though. I should make a shooting video of it soon. It shoots really well for an older style high-end gun. It's, you know, over a decade old, so, but it feels great in the hand, shoots really smooth, no issues there. So yeah, that's just a little bit about it. If you have any questions or anything like that, just let me know. I will do a shooting video on this soon. I will probably do like an uncapped semi, or maybe I'll do like a just full auto uncap to see how quick the gun can really go. It does have some really cool firing modes on this gun that I want to show you guys. What do you guys think of the silver Macaline? Does it like flow pretty good? Kind of like my JT Impulse. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of has pizzazz. But yeah, if you guys have any video suggestions, I would really like that. I'm kind of running out of ideas. I'm saving up for another gun. I really wanted to get into the mechanical scene, but if you guys would like to see a spool valve, maybe I can get a spool valve on the low. If you guys would like to see a spool valve, let me know. Or you guys want me to do a video on anything, let me know. I could do a video on how I set the pressures on this. Since it has a low pressure poppet, just so you guys know, I run it at 68 PSI. And I've had awesome results running it at 68 PSI with the low pressure poppet. All right, so again, any questions, like, subscribe. Gonna start trying to get some more videos coming out. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.